Hello, I am Teresa Stewart, the chair of the Norwood School Committee, and today I am here with Dr. Thompson. We are going to give a brief presentation ahead of town meeting. Town meeting is going to be on November 12th, but we are here to talk about the COVID-related school budget adjustments. If you've been following along with the school committee over the last couple of months, you already know that many things have been changing thanks to a number of new state requirements. Over the summer, the state's Department of Elementary and Secondary Education issued significant guidance and new requirements for school districts in Massachusetts. We were tasked with creating plans for 3 different types of models of education: fully remote, a hybrid approach, and an in-person model. After extensive analysis and discussion with our local Board of Health, we did unfortunately determine that at this time, the district cannot offer 100% fully in-person models, but we are offering a remote option as well as a hybrid model. The state has told us that each district is required to offer fully remote learning academies, and we will share with you more in this presentation how it has impacted our budget and our operations. The state has also told us that we are required to give families the opportunity to move from models throughout the school year. We are currently in the process of having families move into or out of the RLA and into or out of the hybrid model. Families have until November 4th to make that decision for the middle and high school, and until November 20th to make that decision for grades K through 5. There will be other opportunities throughout the school year for terms 3 at the K through 5 and terms 3 and 4 at grades 6 through 12. In addition to this guidance from the state around educational models, the state, as well as the CDC, have also issued significant COVID guidance. This guidance, again, impacts our operations and our budget. All staff and students must wear face coverings or masks when they are in our building, and the school committee did pass the policy this summer to reflect this requirement. The CDC has said that it is best if students are 6 feet apart at all times. This is really important to keep in mind for why we do have some of the restrictions in our hybrid model. Students must be at least 6 feet apart whenever the masks are removed, and masks are removed while eating or for mask breaks. There has been guidance around transportation. For school buses, capacity is limited and assigned seating is required. There is also additional requirements from DESE around certain activities such as physical education and music classes. And lastly, there is a significant list of cleaning and safety protocols that Norwood Public Schools has to follow this year.
Okay, thank you. So while we designed this, we did give a priority to in-person instruction, especially with students with high needs, and these would include substantially separate special education classes and our lower level students who are trying to acquire English skills. So families can opt for remote-only instruction, and the district must provide appropriate services in the remote-only option. The district is required to create an additional COVID-19 special education plan for each student. This is work beyond the normal planning for special education plans. And we need to consider the need for compensatory services due to the spring shutdown. So all of these are impacting our student services department. So Norwood's plans, we started with a self-study. And during that self-study, it revealed that a full in-person instruction was not possible given the public health guidance and the social distancing of 6 feet or more. As you will remember, we do have overcrowded and older schools at the elementary level, and spacing there is limited. And our high school was built to specifications that also limit the size of our classrooms. So social distancing and small school limits limit the number of students we can physically have in person at any one time. We also built a plan to ensure cleaning and safety protocols, and that's why the Wednesday is between the 2 cohorts in the hybrid model. And we had to design a model to prioritize live teaching and instruction in our hybrid model. So our current model, Norwood Public Schools, is using a hybrid model, as well as running the Remote Learning Academy, which is that remote-only option. The hybrid model means most students have 2 in-person instruction days a week and then 3 remote days each week. High needs students have 4 days of in-person. Again, those are your substantially separates, your low-level English language learners, and 1 remote day. And again, those are Wednesdays between the 2 cohorts to allow for cleaning. The implementation of the hybrid model is slightly different at each level. At the high school, the only difference, there is live instruction going on. It is being sent out live via video. And at the middle school, we're using Teams. Some are live and some are in person. So again, class size is limited by the physical size of the classroom. So generally that's can be between 12 and 16 students at a time. It depends on the elementary school or the size of the school. For kindergarten, what we did was we are operating kindergarten classes in side-by-side classrooms with a paraprofessional in the class and the teacher moving back and forth in adjacent rooms. At the middle school, we're making use of double-sized classrooms and removing the folding walls so that we can have a larger class in there, but they're in 2 rooms and separated, or socially distanced rather. At the high school, we're using the gym, the library, and other larger spaces for specific classes, as well as having live instruction with in-person and at-home students. The elementary schools don't have these options for these larger classrooms or side-by-side, just based on the size and the overcrowding of those schools. So we also have another set of increased costs. A lot of these we've used grants to cover at this point in time, but personal protective equipment and additional cleaning costs, plexiglass dividers between sometimes between students and definitely at all of our front desks. We needed to invest in more Chromebooks so that we had the needed technology for grades 1 through 5 so that they could do learning from home. We invested in extra online tools, Seesaw, which is an assessment and portfolio program. And we also invested in enhanced Google tools, including Google Classroom, Google Meets, and others. And Edgenuity, which is an online learning option for the high school for some of our specialized classes with low numbers. These costs have been covered by CARES Act money or in our grants and the grants that we've applied for over the summer.
So as we worked on creating both the hybrid model and the required remote learning academy, we quickly realized that it did require additional staff. Norwood Public Schools has made the commitment that our RLA will be taught by teachers who are employed by Norwood Public Schools. The work of the school committee and the administration over the summer led us to identify that we did need to hire the teachers that you can see on the screen in front of you. These positions have mostly been hired as long-term substitutes just for this year. We did create 2 new positions of instructional technology specialists. These specialist positions are district-wide, and I'm sure you can understand why we would need these technology specialists this year in a hybrid and remote learning situation. We needed to hire 4 additional special education teachers. At the high school, 1 ELL teacher, 17 elementary teachers. Again, this is both for the hybrid model and the RLA. At the high school, we needed to hire 2 paraprofessionals. And at the high school and middle school, we needed to increase some part-time teachers to full-time status. This additional personnel cost the district $1,418,470.
Madam Chair, if I could just add a few comments on this slide. You know, the first is if you think about having to spread our students out into different places, it's going to require more people to cover those students because we are working with them simultaneously. And the other question that I've heard about is, well, what if we go to remote? What does that mean for these extra people? Basically, we've built a model where we can pivot between our hybrid and our remote on a moment's notice. So these teachers would still be employed working with our students while we hopefully return to our hybrid model as soon as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Now, although those personnel requests or additions at this point do add up quickly, the school committee has been working to absorb as much of the cost as we could in our existing budget. So with some budget flexibility and analysis, we have been able to increase our circuit breaker offset by $500,000. We have increased our bus fee offset by $100,000. We were able to shift some expenses to grants, totaling $146,556. For this year only, we have put their curriculum refresh on hold. So that is $250,000 that we were able to reallocate to cover the cost of a hybrid and RLA. And other budget reductions that we have made total $40,756. So through some budget flexibility, we are able to absorb $1,037,312 out of the ask. But if you go to the next slide, you will see the request that we are bringing forth to town meeting. So the difference that cannot be absorbed in our current school budget is $381,158. Now, this does represent a 0.72% increase, which is a minimal increase if you take into consideration everything that we are sharing with you that is required by the state to be done this year. In addition to the costs that cannot be absorbed in the school budget, the increased personnel do also add benefit costs to the shared budget with the town of $365,000. So if you look in special town meeting number 2, Article 2, the total request of money that we are seeking for approval from town meeting is $746,158. Dr. Thompson, is there anything that you would like to add with the request for town meeting?
No, well, I think it's important that town meeting members realize that we have worked hard to absorb a majority of these costs in our current budget through grants and other means, and have really tried to whittle that down to as low of an ask as we can, which I really think is actually, it is asking for more money in the fall, which ultimately we wish we were not doing, but I think it does show a fiscal responsibility to the town to try to minimize that as low as possible. And there was an awful lot of effort in applying for grants and finding other ways to defer and cover a majority of these costs.
So again, special town meeting is on November 12th. If anybody has any questions on anything in this presentation, you can contact Dr. Thompson or the school committee, and we would be happy to address those questions ahead of time. I would like to say thank you to the community for all of your support of Norwood Public Schools.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.